Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Tuesday, the 3rd of April. One soldier killed after Pakistan violates a ceasefire in India's Jammu and Kashmir. US adds Hafiz Saeed's political front Milli Muslim League to terrorist list. An Afghan airstrike against the Taliban causes dozens of casualties. And now for all the details. One Indian Army soldier was killed and 3 others injured as Pakistan resorted to ceasefire violation along the border in India's Jammu and Kashmir province on Tuesday. Pakistani troops reportedly targeted forward posts and civilian areas along the frontier in Poonch district of Jammu and Kashmir with mortar shells and gunfire in violation of the ceasefire. Indian Army also retaliated strongly to the firing from across the border. There have been several cases of alleged Pakistani ceasefire violations over the past few months. Last month, 5 civilians were killed after Pakistan violated ceasefire along the border in Balakote sector. The troops of arch rivals India and Pakistan intermittently exchanged fire on the de facto border despite an agreement in 2003 that a ceasefire should be observed along the working boundary. Both New Delhi and Islamabad blame each other for resorting to unprovoked firings. And in news from Pakistan, the United States on Monday designated terror group Lashkar-e as political front, the Milli Muslim League or MML, and 7 of its top officials as specially designated global terrorists. The designations now clearly undermine MML's effort to get itself registered as a political party and contest the 2018 general elections in Pakistan.
The US Department of State amended its designation of terror group Lashkar-e or LET on Monday, identifying Milli Muslim League and Tehreek-e-Azadi-e-Kashmir as LET affiliates, making it impossible for them to register as political parties. In a statement, the State Department described both the organizations as LET alliances and added their names to its list of foreign terrorist organizations. In August last year, UN-designated terrorist and LET chief Hafiz Saeed created the Milli Muslim League or MML to serve as a political front for the group. LET members make up MML's leadership and the so-called party openly displays Saeed's likeness in its election banners and literature. The designations now clearly undermine MML's effort to get itself registered with the Election Commission of Pakistan as a political party and contest the 2018 general elections. It will also be difficult for the Pakistani government to ignore the designations and register MML as a political party, as it would be seen as an act of direct confrontation with the United States.
Moving on, leader of Mohajir community's Muttahida Qawmi Movement or MQM party, Altaf Hussain, has asked Pakistan to give Mohajirs their right of a separate province. He warned that dejecting the just demands of Mohajirs would lead to creation of a separate homeland under duress.
Muttahida Qawmi Movement or MQM founder Altaf Hussain has asked Pakistan to give Mohajirs their right of a separate province. While addressing MQM's 34th Foundation Day in Germany from London, telephonically Hussain warned Islamabad that dejecting the just demand of the Mohajirs would lead to creation of a separate homeland under duress. He also blamed the military establishment and intelligence agencies for gross human rights violations against ethnic communities in the country. He said that the military establishment and feudal-based governments in Pakistan have so far executed 22,000 innocent Mohajirs in extrajudicial spree of chase and hunt. Activists have long accused the voices of persons who try to highlight the gross human rights violations by Pakistani forces are muzzled by using force.
In news from Afghanistan, an Afghan forces airstrike on a gathering of Taliban representatives in the northern province of Kunduz caused numerous casualties, including civilians, on Monday. Officials claimed the airstrike hit a gathering of Taliban fighters preparing an operation, killing 15 and wounding 10.
An Afghan forces airstrike on a gathering of Taliban representatives in the northern Kunduz province caused numerous casualties, including civilians, on Monday. Abdul Hamid Hamidi, a local police official, said the strike in Dasht-e district outside Kunduz city hit a gathering of Taliban fighters preparing an operation, killing 15 and wounding 10. He said there also appeared to be civilian casualties, but he had no details. Locals claimed the strike had hit a mosque and at least 50 civilians were killed and 150 others wounded in the incident, reports suggest.
Dasht-e
has been largely under the control of Taliban, and many details about the strike were unclear. A statement from the Taliban said the strike killed 150 religious scholars and civilians and denied that any of its forces were present.
More news from Afghanistan. The sit-in protest launched after a deadly suicide car bombing near a stadium last month in Afghanistan's Helmand province is now gaining support from all over the country as people from other districts and provinces are embarking their own sit-in protest and showing support to the protesters in Helmand.
Dozens of people from Nawar district of Afghanistan's Helmand province on Monday embarked on their own sit-in protest in support of peace protesters in Lashkar-e city. The Lashkar-e protesters, including women, have called for a ceasefire by both the terror group Taliban and government following a recent deadly bombing outside a stadium in Lashkar-e city. The growing support around the country comes a day after Helmand ulema members announced the establishment of a committee to work with protesters in Lashkar-e city. The committee will reportedly work to hold talks with the Taliban.
څنګهرو مبارزو او د سولې غوښتونکو ستړي ځوانانو سره دغه خپل خوشحالیو شپه له دوی سره تېروم د دوی سره برڅنګ کې اوسېږم
مړه سوله ښځې مو کونډیانې سولې ټولې تورپوړي د دیواله سوري.
Lawmakers in Afghanistan's parliament have also come in support of the Helmand protesters and their move. Last week, women from Helmand joined the protest by setting up their own sit-in camp alongside the men outside the stadium in Lashkar-e city. The suicide car bombing near Ayub Khan Stadium last month killed at least 16 people and wounded almost 50.
Moving on to news from Nepal, Nepalese Premier KP Sharma Oli on Monday said that his country has been gradually moving towards socialist democracy. Premier Oli has said the government will now move ahead with justified management, rule of law and good governance.
Nepal's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli on Monday said his country has been gradually moving towards socialist democracy. Speaking at an award ceremony in Kathmandu, Premier Oli added that still 36% of Nepalis are below the poverty line and the government is working to bring it down to zero. Oli further said his government will move ahead with justified management, rule of law and good governance. He added the country's political transition has ended and works for overall social transformation will be expedited. Oli, who was sworn in as the Prime Minister of Federal Nepal in February this year, is now looking forward to work together with neighbouring nations for the development of Nepal. He had earlier said that Nepal has enjoyed cordial and friendly relations with both its immediate neighbours, India and China, and will continue to maintain them. The Premier is also embarking on an official state visit to India on April 6th to boost bilateral relations with its neighbour.
The trial run of the first container train between India and Bangladesh was flagged off on Tuesday from India's eastern Kolkata city. The container train service is expected to help reduce capacity constraints that exporters were grappling with through the sea and the land routes.
The Indian Railways on Tuesday conducted a trial run of the first Indo-Bangladesh container train from India's eastern Kolkata city. The service train will carry 60 containers and will be loaded with nearly 1100 tons of animal feed with maximum net weight of 27 pounds in each container. While passenger and goods trains have been running between the two countries, this first container train is looked upon as a way to make trade more organized and safe, as well as to save time and bring down cost of trading.
इसमें होगा क्या ना, थोड़ा कस्टम वगैरह में बाद में आसानी हो जाएगी, बिकॉज इट विल बी सील्ड बाय कस्टम इटसेल्फ, और वो तो खुला रहता है. एंड दैट्स व्हाई इवन द टुडे रिस्ट्रिक्शंस इज दैट बिफोर सनसेट वी हैव टू हैंड ओवर टू देम, एंड फ्रॉम दैट साइड आल्सो इफ दे आर सेंडिंग एनी ट्रेन वी हैव टू टेक इट बिफोर सनसेट.
The container train, which is set to take around 8 hours to reach Bangladesh, will be better suited to ferry machine parts, automobiles, chemicals and consumer durables, which involve a shorter transit time. The train will pass through Silda and Ranaghat in India and Darsana and Ishurdi in Bangladesh before reaching Bagabandhu West Station, nearly 73 miles off capital Dhaka city.
In a bid to encourage and groom youngsters towards sports, authorities in Bandipora district of India's Jammu and Kashmir province have opened their first football academy. The academy is now gaining momentum with increasing numbers of budding players who spend hours on improving their skills.
Bandipora district of India's northmost province, Jammu and Kashmir, has got its first football academy and is working towards grooming youngsters to take up the game professionally. The Sports Council in the province opened the academy months ago, which has now gained momentum with rapidly increasing numbers of budding players of different age groups who spend hours on improving their skills. The aim of the academy is also to reach out to hidden talents residing in far-fetched and other rural areas of the region.
हमारे लिए बहुत ही फ़ायदेमंद है, क्योंकि इससे पहले हमारे डिस्ट्रिक्ट बांडीपोरा में ऐसी कोई एकेडमी नहीं थी कि हम जैसे प्लेयरों को साथ दे सकते. हमें श्रीनगर जाना पड़ता था प्रैक्टिस के लिए. जब से स्टेट फुटबॉल एकेडमी आई है, यहाँ पर प्रोफेशनली ट्रेनिंग हो रही है.
बच्चों का बहुत ही ज़्यादा अच्छा रिस्पांस है. रूरल एरिया से जो कि मतलब बांडीपोरा में दूर दराज इलाके हैं, वहाँ से बच्चे आ रहे हैं. तो अभी पेरेंट्स भी इनको मतलब काफ़ी सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं. इनको स्टेडियम तक मतलब ड्रॉप करते हैं. तो लड़कों की तरफ से तो अच्छा रिस्पांस है.
India's Kashmir Valley has been witnessing a series of militant attacks for past many years, for which India accuses Pakistan of aiding and infiltrating militants. With such circumstances in the valley, authorities are trying their best to encourage the local youth towards better lifestyles.
By giving scrap metals different shapes, an engineer in India's northern Chandigarh city has sculpted several mini robots and calls them polybots. The artist has manufactured different unique pieces out of waste after getting inspired by architect Nick Chand, who designed the famous rock garden in Chandigarh.
An engineer hailing from India's northern Chandigarh city is grabbing eyeballs for making funky toys and decorative pieces out of scrap metal in his leisure time. Prithpal Singh Matharu, an engineer by profession, was inspired by self-taught Indian artists like Nick Chand Saini, the builder of Chandigarh's famous rock garden, since childhood, and channeled his creative abilities through welding and cutting out metals in different shapes. He wanted to make something out of nothing and started making these toys back in 2013, creating the polybots, which are forms of futuristic humanoids from outer space.
So this scrap is basically your old car parts, cycle parts, machine parts, basically some toys also lying at my place, cycle parts, spare car parts. Whenever I get my car repaired, I get parts from there. So that is how I get all the parts.
Many of Matharu's polybots have names given by himself. He now seeks to make more differently styled polybots and give them different names. He also eventually plans to merchandise his product.
Well, that's all we have for you from South Asia this evening. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.